Hello, a Barracuda video, can you believe it? Sorry guys, I know it's been a few months, was away for university and I came back, spent some time with family and then fixed the Valiant, of which I made a video by the way, go check that out. So for today's video, finally working on the Barracuda again, just a heads up, if you want to get to the part where we're actually doing some work, just fast forward a bit until you get there because I'm quickly going to spend the next few minutes just to recap everyone on what's been going on and what the general plan is for the next few videos. So first things first, my dad surprised me by sending away the engine and the transmission to get rebuilt in South Africa. So huge shout out to my dad, thanks for that, because as a student I'm very short for cash and time. Now yes, I would have liked to build the engine myself. It's one of my favorite parts of fixing old cars, but let's be realistic, I'm not in the country for 90% of a year, and also I want to do some cool stuff to it. For some of it I do not exactly have the expertise, so it's getting rebuilt by T's Classic Clinic over in South Africa. Huge shout out to those guys as well, by the way. They've helped me loads in the past with a Valiant, getting it parts and just general troubleshooting like over the phone and stuff. So if you happen to be in Southern Africa and need anything Mopar related or have any questions, go to them. I'll put their details in the description. Awesome guys. So not gonna give you any details about the engine though, because I want it to be a surprise for you guys. I'll just say we are keeping the slant 6 because I like slant 6s. Don't bite my head off about it. I'm not gonna V8 swap it, and also that it's gonna be bitchin'. So might even say it's gonna be a one of a kind in Africa. So use your imagination of what I might possibly do to it. Put some ideas down in the comments, and if someone guesses it correctly, I might or might not confirm it. So yeah, that's something we can all look forward to. Should be done in the next few months, just waiting on parts from the US. With COVID, everything has been so slow, but yeah, let's quickly do some recapping regarding the Barracuda. So it's still like partially assembled in the way I did it. I left it previously, with an exception here and there of stuff. I've fitted the wiring, and turns out the headlight wiring that goes that way I made too long, so we're gonna shorten that. And I figured while we're here and shortening it, I might as well do a little tutorial on how to properly splice or solder wires, especially for automotive wiring, because as many of you know, working on old cars, you often come upon that little twisty thing with insulation tape around it, and that eventually will burn your car down. So might as well do a quick tutorial on how I like to properly splice and solder my wires. And then also before I forget, I'm going to show you guys how to wire in some relays for the headlights. This avoids all of the current going through the engine harness and then through the loom under your dash and then through the headlight switch and bright and dimmer switch, and A, burning out your switches, or B, melting your wires. Oh, and also it will make your headlights shine brighter, since it's gonna pull power directly from the battery and not all the way through the devil's spaghetti, as I like to call wiring. I also have to lengthen a few other wires in the back, but I made too short. They don't reach all the way, but that one's easy. What else was there really? Oh yeah, so sorry, I'm trying to get my bearings together as well. I installed the shifter, and I got a little micro switch for the equivalent of $10, and bent its plate so that it works for reverse and then off when you go into park, off when you're in reverse, and then off when you're back into neutral, because OEM switches cost $200, and I don't have that kind of money to waste on a switch. So yeah, little micro switch, built a bracket for it, bolted it there. It's all dandy now. I also put in some insulation in the roof. Now before you attack me, yes, I know that is not insulation, but proper noise and heat insulation is simply not available in Namibia. And firstly, very expensive. Secondly, very heavy and bulky, so it costs load to import it to here. and I simply do not have that kind of budget or money to waste. So sourced this locally, it works fine, it serves the purpose, and yeah, it's cheap. So gonna like install that everywhere inside all the panels eventually. You might have noticed like my vinyl there peeled away. I cut a new one. We'll like stick that back on tomorrow with proper contact adhesive, not the cheap stuff I used previously. And sometime in the near future, we also need to clean up the window winding mechanisms, get them back in the door and get the doors back on the car. But that's sometime in the future. I think we can get to the wiring now, get that done and sorted, and take things from there. So yeah, welcome back and stay tuned, guys. Okay, so hopefully this turns out all right. Highly doubt it's gonna focus properly, but bear with me. So first things first, you're gonna need a few things. Obviously, a soldering iron. I like these little gas ones, which I'll show you why in a bit. Have it heated up already, just like leave it there. You're gonna need some flux, you're gonna need some solder, and this little magnifying stand is optional, but it does help you a lot. Like, it magnifies obviously what you're doing, and these alligator clips are super handy for holding your wires together while you work. So strip the ends off of your wire. I do about 1 centimeter. If you struggle to keep your wires together, do a bit longer. And then before this next step, slide over some heat shrink. Use heat shrink, don't use insulation tape, do it properly. Then take your 2 wires, lightly twist them together, symmetrically by the way, and then put them in your alligator clips, right, if you have them. That's why they're so handy. Oops, I messed that up. Just twist them back together, there we go. You see, and now they hold your wires together. Sometimes it's a bit finicky. There we go. Perfect. Okay, see? Super handy. Otherwise, like if you don't have these, you have to strip back way more and twist them more. But the shorter your twist, the less resistance, the better the fuse. Okay, so then, again, this is like how I like to do it. Take your solder, dip it in your flux, get some on it, and then use that to put some flux on your wires. It also fluxes your solder at the same time, which is quite useful. Then turn the heat up on your soldering iron, and then take the soldering iron and hold it against the wires. Wait until it melts the flux, and then take a tiny bit of solder, dab it onto your soldering iron, just so that it melts into the wire. Then, this is important, don't add solder to the soldering iron, add it to the heated wires from the top, okay? And then you'll see after a while it will melt through the wires, forming a proper joint. Don't put on too much, just enough to cover all the copper. Hold it for a bit, just so that it spreads evenly, and then take it away. Clean up your soldering iron. This one's cheap, so I just use some sandpaper, rub off the excess solder, and this is why I like the gas ones. So take them out, your wires, right, and then slide your heat shrink in place, and then if you have a gas soldering iron, use the exhaust from the soldering iron to shrink your heat shrink, right? See, it has like a little exhaust, so take that, hold it underneath, just pass it through slowly, and it will shrink your heat shrink. And that's how you properly splice wires together. Cool. It's really that simple, guys. So yeah, hope that helped. Okay, so gonna take a few minutes to explain to you how to wire in some relays for your headlights. But first I'd like to explain why that is a good idea, especially on old cars, and then I'll try to explain to the best of my ability how a relay works and how we're going to use it. Okay, so I have some wiring diagrams here. This is the headlight wiring. You can see both headlights run on the same circuit through the bulkhead disconnect. And purple is low beam, red is high beam. Now through the bulkhead disconnect, it runs all the way through your foot dimmer switch, which draws its power through the headlamp switch, which draws its power through your fuse box, which is supplied by power directly by battery feed. Okay, so the issue is when you turn on your headlamps, they require a lot of juice to shine. All that juice runs through fairly thin wire throughout your car. Now, this wire over this distance for this thickness has a lot of resistance, and amps and resistance together results in higher temperature. Okay, so that higher temperature burns out your switches, or it melts your wire, which could burn down your car, which is horrible. So that's where relays come in. Okay, now tricky part, explaining to you how relays work. Well, in its simplest form, it's nothing other than an electrically operated switch. So what does that mean? Well, imagine a toggle switch, right? You flip it with your finger manually between on and off. Now what the relay does, it just replaces your function by switching between on and off by itself whenever an electrical current is applied to it, thus an electrically operated switch. Okay, so how do we use this for our benefit? Okay, so a relay, in this case a 5-terminal relay, has a bunch of different terminals which does different functions. Now, terminal 30, which is this one, is your common rail, which is to which you supply the source power, right? Then terminals 85 is your negative terminals, which is usually used as ground, okay? Terminal 86 is your positive terminals, which is used as your supply, which triggers the switch, right? Then you see you have 2 terminals here. Now, the center one is your normally closed terminal, meaning when nothing changes here, this circuit is closed, so power can flow through 3087A to wherever you want it, right? So we're not going to use that one. We're going to use just 87, which is the normally open circuit, which means when you do eventually apply power to 86, it will close the circuit between 30 and 87, allowing power to finally flow through. Okay, so how do you hook this up? Well, you take your wiring and you slice it here, right? Be careful not to slice it between your headlights, but here before it gets into the bulkhead, right? This end, which comes from your dimmer switch, you hook up to 86, right? Be sure not to mix them up. Remember, in this case, purple's low beam, red's high beam. So one relay for low, one relay for high. But anyways, you hook them up to 86, right? So they are your input trigger, okay? And then you connect your battery directly to terminal 30, which is the common rail. Just be sure to add a fuse. 30 amps should be enough because these are 30 amp relays. But add a fuse between your battery and these relays. Just split this end, hook them up to terminal 30s, right? And then take this end of the wiring that would have gone to your headlight and hook them up to your output terminals, right? And then just hook up your ground and you're golden. So what's going to happen now is you're going to turn on your headlamp switch, right? And then depending on the decision of your foot dimmer, either bright or dim, it will send the correct signal to the correct relay, activating it for the correct circuit. So either high beam or low beam. And it's really that simple. So it prevents the power running through all of this and instead runs directly from your battery, which avoids our resistance and heat issues and also results in brighter headlights, which is, great. So it's really that simple. I don't think I'm going to film me hooking all of this up. I'm quite tired of filming wiring stuff, to be fair. I might show you when it's done, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this and learned something, and yeah, can use this to your benefit someday maybe, and install some relays for your headlights. Cool.